This is Mentally Dope. Join us, Charmaine and Jasmine, two Black licensed therapists, as we build a bridge between mental health and Black culture. Come on, it's gonna be dope.
Hey,
Welcome back. Are you tired of it yet?
Are you guys tired of this movie? I hope not, because
I'm tired of it.
This time we're gonna finish it up, and we have another aspect of this movie that may get to some people, but it is what it is. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
A word.
Yes, and we're
So
trying
today,
to be mentally dope. And the only way to do that is to challenge ourselves.
We're trying to help y'all be mentally dope. How are you supposed to do it if you don't even know about it? So look, let's come here. Today we're going to be talking about, in the movie Soul Food, Mr. Ahmad.
Listen,
Oh,
Ahmad was
Mr.
like
Ahmad.
literally the main character in the movie, and like
It technically was from his point of view.
You're right. Okay. But the hard part about this is that, like, in the last video, which if you have not watched yet, please do. In the last video, like,
First two,
we have the questions that need answers, and we discussed, like, one of the biggest questions that need answers is, how was Ahmad traveling in Chicago? Like, how was this man at everywhere? How was you showing up at Terry's office? How was you showing up to Bird's job? How was you at the hospital by yourself? Like,
What?
Where are you?
How are you talking to all of the adults individually without
he was
anybody's knowledge?
He was in Miles' studio. Like, how are you getting these
Selling
places?
dreams.
Now, don't get me wrong. We know that it is a movie set, but these are still questions that need answers. If it's supposed to be like real life, which we do know in real life that these things do happen.
Exactly. That's why we're talking about it. So today we're going to talk about the parentification specific to Black children, but it can happen to any children. But today we're talking about soul food and Black stuff. Okay. So come here with us.
All right. So define parentification.
It's simple. It's just when a child takes on a role of an adult. No qualifiers. Not before they're ready, not any of that. When a child, who is a child, takes on the role of an adult.
And here's the hard part about parentification, because we talk about this and it gets deep, and there's so many levels or layers to this, because sometimes it is not like a sit-down conversation that says you're going to be an adult today. Sometimes it's not like a conscious choice. These are not all these, like, parents who are unstable and things of that nature. It's just sometimes when these situations happen that this child has now stepped out of their role as a child and has now taken on things or now has to be
anything,
accountable as an
emotionally, physically, financially, responsibility-wise, all of that. And money is no factor in that way. Like, it contributes, but it's no factor. It doesn't matter what kind of family you grow up in. You can be parentified regardless. Either way.
Yeah. And so, and we're looking at different things, like, and especially in the system of this family, Ahmad was almost dang near a child. I'm like a child of Big Mama in this situation.
Oh, yeah, I was like, he was a child.
Yes, but he was.
Yes, he's Big Mama's child.
Yes, but he was very, very much adult-like in these very different situations. He was told to take on other people's emotions. He felt responsible for the happiness of other people in the family.
I was told to him.
Yes. He was definitely present for a lot of things that he should not have been present for. He witnessed a lot of things that he should not have been witnessing as a child. And once again, not like putting blame on anybody, but looking at this from...
We can put blame on them. They're fictional characters, okay?
I'm just saying.
They're fictional. They're not even real.
But looking at this from the lens of this child, what did that do to Ahmad that he was matured, I guess, in that way, or traumatized in that way?
Overfunctioning, parentified, all of the words we used to say.
Because now he has to take care of these adults. But then also he's still very much a child.
He's a child, like not even in high school yet. Child, a young child. It's even a lot for a kid who's in high school to be doing all the things he was doing, but he was even younger than that. So developmentally, you ain't got none of the resources you need to make this happen.
That part.
But let's talk about the stuff that Mama Joe or his family said to him, because a lot of times parentification can happen through words, can happen through actions, all of these things, neglect, all of this stuff. But part of the thing is, the therapist in me, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way when Mama Joe was like looking at him in his eyes, and she's like, Ahmad, remember, you have to be strong. Don't like it. And then she said something like, what would you do for Big Mama? And he said, anything. And that just felt kind of groomy. It felt like she was grooming him, and it was weird. But like those kind of things, they feel like loving and they feel like connection, but they create standards for us that we cannot possibly meet. So now he's loyal to Big Mama for anything and everything, but he's so loyal or compelled to be so loyal to Big Mama that he's responsible for all the adults in his life to get along, to come to family dinner, to resolve their issues when they are all adults who need to be able to solve their own problems.
Yeah.
That's too much of a burden for a child.
Yeah.
Too much.
And I think that it was even the hard part for me too, is to like the conversation that he had after Big Mama died, the conversation that he had with his mother when she went into
He watched Big Mama die.
Yes.
Like, are we just gonna act like that didn't happen?
Yes.
He's at the hospital by himself, watched his grandmother die.
Yes.
Before she dies, she gives him a task. She doesn't finish her sentence.
Yes, but he knew.
But she gives her a task.
But
what
then
do you
even
mean?
after that,
that's too much.
After he's put all of this on him, well, she put all of this on him to get the family together. He's having a talk with his mother, and she goes into this long spiel of, I know you and I know everything about you, and she was like, I know that you want to get the family together, and then just doesn't stop him, doesn't once tell him you're a child. Doesn't once take that from him.
That is not his. Hey, I see you. I feel you. You really want to. Let me do it. I'll see if I can do something or whatever. Reframe it in a way that is healthy for him. But this is not his job.
Yeah.
Ever. It shouldn't have ever been. Because he should be worried about school and books and being a child.
Yes. G.I. Joe, whatever it is that you watch.
Whoever, anywhere.
Yes.
So that's part of it. Like the words that we use impact a way that a kid sees their role in the family. Always. Or like when I was growing up, it was always like, you take care of your sibling. You take care of your brother. You don't always have to be parentified by your parent, but older siblings who have to predominantly care for their younger siblings are parentified, because again, if you're taking a parenting role, you're no longer a child.
100%. And that's the hard part, because once again, like you said, that it's not because you have an absent parent. It's not because you have a parent who has like an issue. I mean, it could be 100%. 100% could be if you have a parent who has like
there's so many ways that can happen.
An addiction, but you also could have had a working mom, or a working father,
or parents. Working parents.
Yes,
either one.
You could have had working parents. You could have had parents who were in school. You could have parents who had like all of these different dynamics.
It's a spectrum of all of these
100%. But once you as a child start to become responsible for their emotions. Oh, well, my mom has 3 jobs.
Or outcomes. Yes.
Well, my mom has 3 jobs, so therefore I need to make sure that she's okay. You're stepping out of a child role and into a parent role.
Exactly.
And it's not saying that your mom did that on purpose, or that your parent did that on purpose, but it happened. And now you're the person who is responsible for these younger siblings, or responsible for the emotions of your mother. Well, I didn't want her to get upset, so I'm going to take care of this. Whoop, that's not your job. You're the child. She's the parent.
Right. And my hypothesis, since we are scientists here, okay, I have a master's in science. Okay, I'm a scientist.
Yes.
Is that I believe parentification is trauma. I think it's trauma. I think we can label it as trauma. I think we can absolutely put it there. If the definition of trauma is something that is too much, too fast, too quick, and over your developmental level, that's the definition of parentification, right? That you're giving something to somebody that is not their developmental level, right? Like kids should not have the responsibilities of what are we going to do to make ends meet at the end of the month, right? Like they should not have to like be able to sit there and calculate what that's going to look like, or like who's going to be the one to take care of my sibling or my parent because they're sick or they're physically ill or they have a disability, right? It's too much. Not that these being present cause trauma, but if the burden falls on the child and there's no resolution, like there's nothing that can be done, then it does become parentification.
Yeah. And I think that the hard part about this is that if you go back to video 1, when we talk about family roles, we see how this changes family roles. Because we're talking about the example of the example that you used of older siblings taking care of younger siblings. Well, now that I've stepped into a parent role, there's a part of you that says, that's my child. It should be your sibling, but that's my child. I take care of her.
The child who's taking care of the other child.
Yes.
Is saying, that's my kid. I have responsibility and ownership over this
Yes.
human.
And then, like you said, like the same thing with Ahmad, when you're a child who should be worried about school and watching TV. Now I'm worried about my younger sibling. Did they get to class okay? Like, oh wait, did they brush their teeth? Oh wait, did they get this before school? Because that's my job. But is it?
It shouldn't be. That's the thing.
And then like
shouldn't have to be.
Those lines get blurred.
Absolutely. And even another example, I think you kind of said a little bit, but I'll flesh it out a little bit more, of just emotional parentification, and where you're actually responsible for a parent's emotions or the family's emotions, right? And so this can kind of happen in conjunction with all that other stuff, but specifically if resources are not an issue in your family, but something happens that is normal, appropriate developmentally, and your parent is upset with you and makes you responsible for that, like, I don't know, let me see. Can you think of an example? Something happens, like, I don't know, you're a kid. You're not paying attention, you knock something over, and your parent gets mad and they scream at you. And then afterwards they go, well, you just shouldn't have done that. That just makes, mom really mad, and I only did that because you did that, right? That makes a kid responsible for your emotions and reactions for something that is age appropriate. Like, they're wiggly, they're impulsive, they're all of these things. So that can happen regardless of the other situation. Yeah. But that's another facet of parentification.
And that to me is a big one, because we're talking about the emotional intelligence of the parent, and then for the parent putting that off on the child. Like, oh, like you said, I only did this because.
Or you shouldn't do that. That makes mom angry. You shouldn't do that because dad feels this way. And then the kid's like, well, your emotions are my responsibility. So everything I do, I have to think about your emotions and your emotions.
Yes.
And that leaves kids to grow up in a way that's disconnected from themselves. Right? These are the people that show up in my office and I'm like, how do you feel? And they're like, I don't know.
Or the ones that I see a lot as within my clients are the ones who became so emotionally responsible for their parents that they didn't trust them with certain information. I can't tell you things to protect me because I'm protecting you. And that's hard too. So if something happens to me,
like, give me an example.
Like, let's just say that, like, I'm in school, or I get hurt, or or something was happening, or something big, like, even like, molestation. I see like, that one a lot. That I can't tell you because I have to be in control of your emotions, not vice versa. You don't protect me, I protect you.
Yeah, that's a problem for sure. And also, that kid is sacrificing themselves for the parent.
Yeah.
And that's not a good dynamic.
Yeah.
And a really hard situation, too, is that it's really hard for parents and kids to get this back in check. Like, that's a hard thing to work with in therapy, of, like, once a kid is outside of their role and they're parentified, it's very hard for a parent to go, like, well, okay, now I'm the parent, and now I'm going to do all this, and now I'm going to do all that. Like, it's really hard because it's a survival thing, right? Like, I'm not okay if I don't show up and do these things. Well, look, I've worked with lots of people of just, maybe a kid has a medical condition, and the parents are not equipped to handle it, and the kid knows all about their medical condition, and the parents don't.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Because that's the survival. How are they going to get along when parent is not invested in my physical health? They've had to stand up and do that and make that happen.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It perpetuates trauma.
Yeah.
Right? Because this kid has to grow up and do this whole thing and have a family, and then what? What's that going to look like passed down?
And that too, to look at that as we continue up. How does this child that was parentified continue to adapt into the world? What do your relationships look like? How do you go on into having healthy or non-healthy relationships? Because I don't how does that show up then? Like, because you have matured faster, or because you're constantly emotionally, responsible for everybody else, like all of these things, this may trickle into your friendships and into your and into your romantic relationships, because that's the role that you've taken on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not by choice. And once again, not blaming anybody, but like that, just like it may have been like how that happened.
It has a root. It starts somewhere. Always. So how you can identify a parentified kid? What would you say?
Ooh.
We talked before about, like, cycles, right? Yeah. Like, there's a cycle to this, and that parentified kids are always, I think for a lot of times they're affirmed. you're so good. We never have to worry about you. You're so mature, right? Like all of those things are really positive. And so the kid thinks, well, like that's the thing that gives me value. You're so caring. You always care about mommy and like all of these things. And like, but what we're really saying is this kid is like in a role that they're not supposed to be in. And they're not acting like a child.
Like, I never have to worry about you. You always have it together. But that's hard because, like you said,
that's too much for a kid.
Yeah.
That's
because
way too
for
much.
one, should I always have it together?
Exactly. But then it's a cycle. It's like you're affirming these things in me that's dysfunctional and unhealthy. Then I'm going to keep doing the things that are dysfunctional and unhealthy. You're going to keep praising me for that. I'm going to keep looking for that and expecting that. And then I'm going to keep looking for that in my friends and in my job and all these things and trying to figure out why I'm not getting the praise and the affirmation that I think I should, because those things aren't the same as a family.
Yeah.
They don't function that way. Right?
Yeah.
It means something.
100%.
So what does a parent, like an adult who was parentified, look like?
I think that there's like multiple different ways. I think
how does that manifest? I guess.
I think that it manifests in multiple different ways. Kind of like we said, there can be some of the different dynamics with other relationships because like the parentified child may not know how to shift outside of being accountable for everyone else. I was actually talking to my clients about this the other day, and just like even like asking the question that I asked her of like a simple question, or what should be a simple question of like, if you had to identify the role of a parent, what would it be? You had to identify the role of a sister. Well, what would it be? And she couldn't. Like, not like, with actual boundaries, because to her it was like, I don't really know. So you see
in my family it was like this, so I don't know what it's supposed to be. I know what it was.
Yeah. So in this situation, you have an adult who is still playing parent to her siblings that are also adults.
Right.
And
y'all know that dynamic.
Yes. So she's still playing parent. She's actually still parenting her parent. And then you also have your own children that you don't really know how to parent them because I'm too busy trying to parent all these other people, and it becomes like this like a weird dynamic of I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I know that I take care of everybody.
I like that. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing if I'm not caretaking.
Yes.
Right? I found a lot of these people, maybe myself included, also is just like, well, I don't know what to do if I'm not taking care of people. Like I don't have a social life, or I don't have things that I like to do or just enjoy.
The hard thing about this, and I'm not saying that people do not actually love and choose these careers, but you find some people like this who choose careers to go into the same field because it hits that level of validation. Guess what?
Nurses, doctors, therapists, we see you, y'all.
Daycare workers,
police officers,
like
we
teachers,
see you.
We see all of this, and I'm not saying that people do not like actively choose this, but we do
it's not always that case.
Yes,
but many times it is.
Yes.
That we're looking for some of that. I like to take care of people. I like to be the caretaker of people. CNAs, like I love y'all. But it's not a judgment, but it is like there's always a root. There's always a connection. We don't choose things for no reason.
Yeah, and is that part of the motive?
Yeah. And don't be surprised that sometimes when you heal or like do the work around it, that you don't want to do that thing anymore. Yeah. Or it looks different. Your relationship with it looks different.
Yeah.
Because that's where you were operating out of. And that's not a bad thing. That really is a good thing.
Yeah. But you
should
actually be able to heal and figure out that maybe I need to pivot. But like you said, that is a lot of work, because then we get to this point of, who am I? Who is I? Who am I be? I do not know. Is it me?
Right.
Or is it a conspiracy? I don't know who I am. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And legitimately. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Legitimately. It's not an issue. It's not always an issue. Sometimes it is, of people not wanting to do their own work. But it's sometimes an issue of, I have no idea how to do this. I always took care of everybody else's emotions. I don't know how to do this with mine. Like, nobody taught me how to do this. So it really is of like, I don't know. I really don't know.
And then, like you said, sometimes that's hard to say, that if we strip this down, and like we said, these relationships start to change. Well, what if I really did choose my job because of this? Well, dang it, now I got all this stuff. Like, am I really going to switch? Yeah, because like that's going to be a little bit of a dynamic. What if I chose my spouse because of this? What if I choose projects? That's going to be a whole nother episode.
What if I had children because of this?
But what if I chose project men because I need somebody to caretake?
That's what we're going to do today. She coming for y'all. I ain't do that. She did that. She coming for you. Oh, there's so much to this, y'all.
Yeah.
It's loaded. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But the last thing that we're going to do before we end is like, besides all of the trauma that Ahmad went through, okay, he literally...
Let's bring that to Ahmad.
Oh my gosh, Ahmad, he's gone through so much. He literally watched his grandmother die. He watched with nobody. Nobody was at the hospital. Let's see what else. He watched his aunt try to... Was he there when Lim was going after... I don't know if he was. He heard about it. He knew about it though because Lim talked to him about it.
He was in Bird's barber. I mean, he was in Bird's business when Samuel came in.
He did. He watched that inappropriateness that he should not have seen. He watched his auntie try to stab his uncle at the party.
He knew that something happened when him and Terry got back to the house, and Terry said that they had to go, and he knew that Miles and Faith was in that house.
And I mean, I know it's a movie. But for me, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, he's hypervigilant. He's looking around to see what is going on with the adults around him, to see where his safety is at, right? Because that's what people say all the time. One of the black people say, out of grown folks' business. Why you all up in my mouth? But is that what's happening? Or are they actually anxious and hypervigilant and trying to figure out what's going on so that they can predict the future?
Yes, and create his own safety.
Boom. That's a word. Y'all don't even understand how that's a word, but I run it back and listen to it again. Run it back and listen to it again. But all the things that Ahmad went through, getting his ungrateful family to get it together and be adults when he was a child. But let's talk about how could we actually help Ahmad? Like, things happen. People live life. We cannot be in charge over everything. And honestly, there are a lot of black children who are parentified because that is the way that the families are, and not to any fault of the families. But that's just the way society is. Yeah. Mama can't be at the house all the time. Daddy can't be at the house all the time. Folks got to eat. It is what it is. But how do we help, or how do we support Ahmad if this has happened to him?
I think that one of the things that I think that would have helped Ahmad would have been constant conversations about the things that he was witnessing. Because like you said, there's certain things that we can't fix. If like let's just say that he was at the hospital there by himself. We couldn't have predicted that. There are certain things that were happening that we could not have predicted. Now there's certain
all the time. You can't protect your child from everything.
There's certain things that could have been fixed. Bird knew that she was calling Samuel to her job. That should not have been the same day that Ahmad was in sweeping up the hair.
But that's
don't do that to your nephew on the same day.
But that's the hard thing. Then the child has to be the secret keeper of things because he knows. That's
what I'm saying. She should have.
I know, but that put him in that. It's such a burden. Yeah, I'm just trying to connect those dots. Like that's hard.
Me, I understand what you're saying, that there are certain things that we can't control. And in those situations, that things that can't be controlled, or like you said, if there are parents who have jobs or who have things, like you said, mama got jobs, or like mama's in school, whatever, but we need to have conversations about this. And not conversations.
But we also need to remove them. Like, if you can't, like, you can't be in charge of everything. Something happens, something pops off. You need to try your best to have the wherewithal to say, oh, now baby got it. Like, go in the other room, go take your cousins, get out the house, do whatever you have to do.
But there also needs to be a conversation because kids are not stupid. So I can't tell you, oh, I'm not upset and nothing happens, but there's a knife out here and everybody's running around looking crazy. So even if I send you to another room, you know something ain't right.
Yeah. I hate
so
that,
there has to be a conversation. It does not have to be like full detail of that happened, but there needs to be something where I at least respect you enough to say, I understand that this is like weird for you. I understand that you don't understand, like those types of things, and like to let you know whatever happens, I got you. I'm protecting you. This is not need to fix.
That's the difference though between bad things are gonna happen. Like, it's just going to happen. Things are going to happen that you cannot predict or cannot have control over. One way or multiple ways that you can do something about it is, if you can, remove the kid. Tell him to go somewhere. And if you can't, or even if you did, you need to come back and have conversations after the fact.
Yes.
The thing that stuck out to me the most is that the only person that sat down and had an actual conversation with Ahmad during the whole movie, and he got mamas and he got multiple mamas and aunties and everybody, was Lim. Somebody not even blood related to him. Sat down and say, hey, I hate this happened. I want you to know I did not hit, your auntie. I would never do anything like that. I'm sorry that my anger got out of control. I'm trying to do better. That's all it takes. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't even have to pretend to be perfect or any of that. You just have to talk about what happened so a kid has a context to put that stuff in.
Yep.
We need somewhere for it to go instead of all the adults are out of control in my life.
And he was honest with him, which I appreciated as well too.
I get angry because I'm not perfect,
Because that's the hard part too, is that there has to be a level of honesty. Because when you lie to the kid about things like this, guess what? They're going to figure out later that you lied to them. And now that also shakes my safety and my security too. Because if you told me that little girl that I met the other day was looking down the street, and then I found out that she's my sister, well, now we got a problem, Mama, because you lied to me.
And even more than that, a kid does not know what to do with their emotions. If they 100%. See you upset, and you're like, Mama, what's wrong? Nothing. Don't worry about it. All that stuff. Then the kid's like, well, what are the rules in the family? We don't talk about emotions.
What do I do?
Or when emotions are hard, we don't talk about it, or we disconnect ourselves from other people. Like you're telling your kid about something that does not help them in the long run. Mm-hmm. I know it serves to be protective. Like I think when people do it, they're like, oh, it's on. Like I'm just trying to protect you. You're too young. But you have to put things into context. That's what helps.
Yeah. Or like you said, just be honest. I don't really know how to deal with this right now. Mm-hmm. Mama's upset.
I don't know why. Just a lot of things are happening right now. Mm-hmm. That's it.
And I don't really know how to deal with it.
Right. It's not like, Faith was sleeping with my husband and like this is with it. That's too much detail. That's too much all of this. But be honest about what's happening with you. Because if you're honest and connect to yourself, your kid can also connect to themselves and connect to you. They can understand. Mom's disconnected right now because she's emotional. Versus like, dang, what's wrong with me? Yep. Like mom's disconnected. Mm-hmm.
Or that feeling that he probably already had of now I need to make this better.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have a child who is trying to make you happy. I'm going in there like he'll make you food. Or
like we talked about the family dynamic, the clown.
Yes,
that's when they show up.
Kid, the kid that like I want to make everybody laugh because that's how I control everyone's emotions. I get that. That like if I make jokes and I make everybody laugh, then everybody's okay.
Exactly.
But then it becomes a role. Mm-hmm. So now I have
they can't
to
get
do
out
this
of.
in order to control the family dynamic, and
Absolutely.
That's not cool.
Nope. And then the last thing you can do is like parents. Everybody, not just parents. If you're in the life of a child, how about that? In any way, do your own work. Go to therapy. Do your work. Because the more that you know about your emotions, the easier it is to teach somebody else about their emotions and help them navigate that. Right? The biggest reason why that doesn't happen in families is because the parents don't know how to do it for themselves. So how can you teach something you don't know how to do?
Yep.
Do it for yourself. I bet you're going to do it for your kids.
Yep.
Done. Easy.
That's it.
Y'all, this was packed with gems today.
Yeah.
So let us know if you got something from it. Like, comment a little bit.
Hopefully you guys stuck it out with us as we went through all parts of this movie. Because it was a lot. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends.
Mama, send it to your dysfunctional family. Let them know, hey, they talking about you on this video.
Let them know. Your cousin too. Everybody.
Send it to your cousin Faith and your Uncle Pete. All them folks.
Yeah.
But otherwise, y'all, stay mentally dope. Take care of yourselves.